Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy. I'm going to, this is a really deep edition this time. So I'm going to stick to the script because I don't want to miss anything. And I want to focus on the presentation. So I'm going to go to full screen. And I'm going to do this briefing. I'm so upset. It's very difficult for me to really be in the moment. And so I hope you'll bear with me. Before we talk about the Supreme Court, we need to talk about policy. Before we talk about policy, precedent, or power, I want to ground us where our faith begins. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. Do not oppress a foreigner, for you yourselves know how it feels to be foreigners. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. Not, Hebrews is telling us plainly, not as an afterthought, not as an optional kindness, but as a command. And Exodus 23:9 goes even deeper. And God roots the command in memory, in empathy, in lived experience. God says, you know this story. You have lived this pain. So you must never inflict it on someone else. These two verses emphasize that the stranger is sacred. The migrant is our neighbor. And we have a duty to show them love and hospitality and not to oppress them. Clear, unmistakable moral leadership. We have before us the scriptures do not stutter on this point. It does not hedge. It does not leave us room for cruelty dressed up as policy. This is a moral ground we stand on, the lens under which we stand at every corner. This week, the Supreme Court issued a cluster of commands. There are 5 Supreme Court cases and 1 moral question that we must address. This week, the Supreme Court issued a cluster of immigration decisions that will shape who gets to live, who gets to stay, and who gets to be safe in this country. 5 cases, different facts, different states, different plaintiffs, but one unmistakable through line. America's moral character is on the line. And the question is no longer abstract. It is immediate. It is human. It's about our neighbors right here in North Carolina. We are talking about families in Durham who do double shifts in kitchens and hospitals. Haitian congregations in Raleigh and Charlotte who are sending money home every month. Venezuelan teenagers in Greensboro learning English while working nights to help their parents. The farm workers in Johnston and Sampson counties who keep our food system alive. These are rulings, not headlines. They are our neighbors. They are our household. The first case we're going to talk about is Mullen versus Al Otro Lado. Please forgive my pronunciation. This case asks whether asylum seekers, many from Haiti and Venezuela, have arrived in the United States if they are physically blocked from stepping onto U.S. soil. The majority said no. They upheld a system that turns people away before they can even ask for protection. But Justice Sonia Sotomayor refused to look away. She invoked the MS St. Louis, a ship of more than 900 Jewish refugees the United States refused to accept during World War II, and later many were killed. She said, history teaches us the cost of turning away those seeking refuge. Her warning was clear. We have been this nation before. We must not be it again. Here in North Carolina, this ruling hits home. We have Haitian families in Wake County who fled gang-controlled neighborhoods where children are kidnapped for ransom. We have Venezuelan asylum seekers in Greensboro and throughout the Triad and Triangle who walk through the Darien Gap, a jungle where people disappear every day. This ruling tells them your suffering is real, but your arrival is not. The second case we're going to talk about is Mullen versus Doe. And this is the one that hits me hard. The temporary protection status for Haitians, Syrians, and Venezuelans, but in the trial it was Haitians and Syrians. The second case is not a procedural ruling, it's a revelation of moral failure. Temporary protected status exists because some countries are just too dangerous to return to. Haiti, Syria, and now Venezuela, a country that in the same week this ruling came down, endured two catastrophic 7.5 magnitude earthquakes. And here's the part that should stop every listener cold. Within hours of the decision, the administration announced it would not extend TPS protections for Venezuelans. Within hours, the administration announced it would not extend TPS protection for Venezuelans. Not days, not weeks, hours. Hours after the country had endured two catastrophic quakes. Hours after the Supreme Court made a decision. While aftershocks were still shaking buildings, while families were still digging through the rubble, while people were sleeping outside because their homes collapsed. The callousness. Oh, Jesus. The callousness is unconscionable. Justice Elena Kagan joined Sotomayor and Jackson, and she did what the majority refused to do. She laid out the receipts, time-stamped, documented, on the record. She restated multiple statements made by executive officials about Haitians. Statements courts had previously described as repellent and racially infected. She showed the pattern. She showed the animus. She showed the motive. And the majority looked at it, at all of it, and said, courts cannot review this. Not the process, not the motive, not the constitutional injury. They closed the courthouse doors. Justice Kagan said the consequences for individuals involved are devastating and indeed life-threatening. Here in North Carolina, TPS holders are not abstractions. They are our neighbors. They are the Haitian nurses in Charlotte who kept COVID wards running during the pandemic. They're the Syrian families in Raleigh rebuilding their lives from rubble and war. They're the Venezuelan workers in Durham and Greensboro who send money home to relatives that are now sleeping outside after the earthquakes. They're the children in our schools whose parents now face deportation to countries in crisis. Indian TPS doesn't just deport individuals. It tears families apart. It destabilizes neighborhoods. It sends people back to places the United States itself has deemed or made unsafe. This is not policy. This is a test of who we are as a nation. The next case we're going to talk about is Campos Chavez versus Garland. This case asks whether people can challenge deportation orders when the government fails to give proper notice of their hearing. The majority said no. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented. She said that the decision will force people out of this country who've done everything that the law requires. I want you to understand what happened in this case. The government failed to send the notice. It was the government didn't notify the person. The majority said it was still valid, and people are being punished for the government's mistake. I want you to understand that. Justice Jackson's dissent is critical to understanding what's going on. Here in North Carolina, in Durham and Chapel Hill, I've met families. I know people who keep every document in a binder, every notice, every receipt, every appointment. They follow the rules because they know the stakes are high. And you mean to tell me that if Charlotte immigration office is too overwhelmed and didn't send the notice out, it's their fault and they can be punished? These families that did everything right, except they didn't receive a notice that was never sent. People, still deported. Cruelty through bureaucracy. Are we willing to live with that? Are we? I'm asking you. Are we willing to live with that? I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. Oh, if all this were just this. Two more cases like that would be enough. Wilkinson Ferguson versus Garland. No review of immigration judges' errors. This case asks whether federal courts can correct factual mistakes made by immigration judges. And what did the majority say? No. No. An immigration judge makes factual mistakes. The majority said the court cannot correct them. Errors become de facto deportations. But Justice Sotomayor dissented and said when liberty is at stake, accuracy is not optional. Immigration courts in Charlotte have some of the highest denial rates in the country. People often stand before a judge without a lawyer, without an interpreter, without evidence they know how to present. How in the world are you supposed to answer questions you do not understand? Because you don't understand what's being said, and you don't know how to present the evidence in a way that will help you. And now, even if the judge gets the facts wrong, the person can be deported with no chance to appeal. This is not due process. This is abandonment. I don't know about you, but I'm angry. This is the last case we're going to talk about today. I'm sure they got decisions coming out today that I'm missing as I'm talking about these. But in Garland versus Singh, and this one, whoo, Jesus, this one really is amazing. We have signed an international treaty. It's one of the few that we actually did sign. The Convention Against Torture is something that the American people committed to. And the court, the majority, narrowed that review. The case asks whether people who fear torture can get meaningful review of denied claims. And in this case, the court said, hey, a meaningful review is like a 20-minute hearing. And Justice Jackson, in the dissent, said that the stakes could not be higher when removal may mean torture or death. When the review may mean torture or death. I want to talk to you about what this means for many LGBTQ asylum seekers. This ruling is not theoretical. It's life or death. We have neighbors right here in North Carolina who fled countries where being queer is a crime. where being trans is a death sentence, and where an accusation alone is enough to trigger beatings, torture, or even execution. Countries where LGBTQ people face execution include Iran, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Somalia, Mauritania, Nigeria. Countries where people face torture, imprisonment, and mob violence include Uganda, Ghana, Egypt, Kenya, Tanzania, Cameroon, Chechnya, and Iraq. What does that mean here? I've sat with LGBTQ asylum seekers in Greensboro and Durham who fled after they'd been accused by a neighbor, after a co-worker outed them, after a partner was beaten in the streets while bystanders filmed instead of intervening. These are not hypotheticals. These are our neighbors. And now, under this ruling, even if an immigration judge misunderstands their story or dismisses the danger they face, a federal court cannot correct the mistake. This ruling tells LGBTQ asylum seekers, even if the judge is wrong, the danger is yours to bear. Even if execution is the likely outcome, the door to freedom and security in America is closed. Is this the America we want to portray to the world? Is this the America we want to live in? When you place all 5 cases side by side, a pattern emerges. Less access to asylums, less access to hearings, less access to appeals, less protection from torture, more power to the government to turn people away. This is not a worldview, a coincidence. This is a worldview. A worldview that treats migration as a threat. A worldview that treats suffering as an inconvenience. A worldview that treats survival as optional. But our moral traditions tell a different story. They tell us that the stranger is sacred. The refugee is holy. The migrant is neighbor. And neighbor is not a legal category. Neighbor is a calling. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were fleeing from a country that was butchering children under the age of 2, a tyrant. They fled to Egypt for sanctuary. They lived there and worked there and grew there until it was safe to return home. It was sanctuary. They were our neighbors. The Bible reminds us over and over again that we are neighbors. Here in North Carolina, these rulings land on real people, our neighbors. The Haitian mother in Raleigh working 2 jobs while sending money home. The Venezuelan father in Greensboro who crossed 7 countries to keep his children alive. The DACA student here in Durham who spends her days tutoring middle schoolers after school. The farm workers in Sampson County who pick the sweet potatoes in 100-degree heat. These are our neighbors. These are our communities. These are the people who make North Carolina home. And the court's decisions are not abstractions for them. They are the differences between safety and danger, stability and chaos, belonging and exile. And so we return to Justice Sotomayor's warning. History teaches us the cost of turning away these refugees. She held up a mirror to the nation. She reminded us of the MS St. Louis, the ship of 900 Jewish refugees we as a nation refused to shelter. She reminded us that America's moral character is revealed not in moments of comfort, but in moments of choice. And now Lady Liberty herself seems to ask, what does it mean to lift a torch if we refuse to light the way? What does it mean to call ourselves a nation of immigrants if we close the door behind us? Ellis Island was not a fortress. It was a welcome table, a place where the world's tired, poor, and persecuted could breathe again. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. These words are not a poem. They are a promise. And the question before us now is whether we still intend to keep it. What do we do now? Because a nation is not defined only by its laws. A nation is defined by the people who refuse to let those laws harden into cruelty. And here in North Carolina, we are not powerless. We are not voiceless. We are not without tools, without partners, or without a movement. Siembra, North Carolina, they have an amazing program and we need to help them. I have in the banner below where you can donate to them. They provide immigrant justice, rapid response. This is a movement that's embracing community defense. They're on the front lines, holding the lines, protecting our neighbors and those who seek asylum and refuge in North Carolina. I'm going to let that sit a minute so you can see how to connect with Siembra and you can see how to donate. And how to connect and become a volunteer. We have a movement. I want to give you, you see NC Justice Center scrolling at the bottom of the screen. The Justice Center is an amazing organization. I used to work for the Justice Center way back in the day. Their immigrant and refugee rights project provides legal and policy advocacy to our immigrant community. They need money right now. They need your volunteer. They need your support. If you want to learn more about community and what policies and practices we can be advocating for, contact ncjustice.org and donate. Donate money. Every group I'm putting forward, they need your support. Finally, we have a number of mutual aid and defense places going on in your neighborhoods and friends. We've got Alerta Migratoria North NC. It's important that you contact them, let them know what's going on. Contact them if you see something about an ICE raid. There are sanctuary congregations all over the state. Find one and donate clothes, donate diapers, donate food, donate Visa cards, those load them up Visa cards. Help with local mutual aid funds. These dollars fund survival. Money. Donate money, and donate time. Be committed. Be committed. Here's my final charge to you today. The courts may have dimmed the torch, but Lady Liberty's flame was never meant to be protected by marble or metal. It was meant to be carried by the people, by us, by neighbors who refuse to forget history, by congregations who refuse to abandon the stranger, by communities who refuse to let cruelty be the final word. So today, let us choose to be the nation we claim to be. Let us choose to be the people our ancestors prayed for. Because those words, let us choose to keep the promise etched in bronze at the foot of the Statue of Liberty. Because those words are not a poem. They are a covenant. They are a commitment. And we together are the torchbearers now. We are the ones who will keep this covenant. We will protect the stranger. We will protect the stranger. Donate to Siembra.org. Donate to ncjustice.org. Donate to your local sanctuary congregation, your local community mutual aid organization. Provide sustenance and security for your neighbors who are immigrants. Walk your neighbors' children to school. Don't let fear prevail. We are not Nazi Germany. We are not going to let our neighbors be disposed of without a fight. We're going to stand as a nation on liberty and justice for all as we approach our 250th anniversary. I'm afraid to get off and see what's going on in the world. But I know this, we need to spend this weekend checking on our neighbors and friends and making sure they're okay. I'm going to try to have somebody from either the Justice Center or Siembra NC on our show next week. So I urge you and encourage you to understand the Supreme Court cases. Understand that they narrowed the window, but they did not close the door. We're going to keep fighting. You close the door, we'll break the window open. We'll do what we need to do to protect the dignity and sanctity of what the American dream is. Give us your tired, your poor, those yearning to be free, huddled masses yearning to be free. They didn't say get a gold Trump Visa entry card. They didn't say pay $500,000 and come to America. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. Thank you today for watching this episode of Doing Justice Bring Joy. I hope you have learned and educated yourself about what our immigrant communities are facing. If you are in North Carolina, you know where to donate. If you are anywhere across this country, there is an immigrant rights group, a Haitian community group, a Venezuelan hotline group that needs your help and support. We can all load up a Visa card to be able to pass to a person. You may not have, $100. Get four $25 Visa cards that you can hand out. Help a neighbor, help a friend. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Doing Justice Brings Joy.